Now this video was written while I'm writing about my opinions towards Natlan as a whole. I may be a commentary channel, but I'm still a lore channel at heart. So while I do just that, I thought to myself that this is probably better on a separate video. So here we are. I made this video before the commentary on Natlan, and I do recommend watching this video first before that commentary, which I will hopefully upload by this week. But if you just want to come here to listen to what Natlan's lore is all about, then you are very welcome to join in. This is also a great video if you did all of the world quests but did not understand what the lore is all about, or you just want a recap of the whole thing that happened in Natlan. I'm only going to give you the details on everything that relates to Natlan's core lore, so I'll be skipping some parts of it that are not relevant, and I'll make sure to make another video going deep dive into Teyvat's whole lore in another video. There won't be any theories in this video, it's just full of lore and bits of speculation, but this should be good enough to let you know everything about this nation, because I have a feeling that Natlan's lore will be intertwined with NOD-KRAI's lore. With that said, don't forget to give this video a like and comment so the channel can be noticed by the algorithm. My name is Tenochtzitoc and I make lore and commentary videos on this channel to keep you company. So Natlan is known to be the nation of dragons according to Neuvillette. He also said that the dragons in Natlan have gone through long years of development and evolution so that they can coexist with humanity. War is endless in such a nation, and this has been that way throughout millennia, hence why in the modern days of Teyvat, Natlan is known as the nation of war. Now believe it or not, what Neuvillette said here is basically the most TLDR of Natlan's whole lore. But of course, that alone is not enough, so let's dive deeper. Just know that some of the timeline in this game is still a little bit odd, but I'll do my best to make the best sense out of the lore. Before the Heavenly Principles came, Teyvat was inhabited by the dragons with Nibelung as their ruler. Prior to the 7 elements, they used to have a much more primitive source of energy, and one of them is phlogiston that people of modern Natlan still use until today. Nibelung created the 3 moon sisters, Arya, Sonnet, and Canon, or also known as Aralos, Solnari, and Kanan, to rule Teyvat in his stead while he left Teyvat for unknown reasons. Quetzal, known as the most intelligent dragon out of all the dragon sovereigns, created AI dragons called the Sovereign Rulers using the secret source technology to govern the old Natlan and also give life to his brother named Kukulkan. There are 13 sovereign rulers, meaning there are 13 territories that these AI dragons ruled over that were soon taken over by the 6 tribes of the current Natlan. But one day, the Heavenly Principles came, triumphing against the dragons, leaving the dragons to decline while the Heavenly Principles brought humanity to Teyvat. They also diffract the Light Realm into 7 elements we now see today to combat the Abyss better, and phlogiston was one being used as the basis. The Moon Sisters also joined the Heavenly Principles, deeming them as traitors according to the dragons, but it is heavily hinted in Innafa's signature weapon, the Fractured Halo, and the finale of the Deep Galleries that they were coerced to do so. Quetzal fell into false death, and not long after Nibelung's return with the Forbidden Knowledge, he awakened and joined him with the other dragon sovereigns in the War of Vengeance around 6,000 years ago. However, this resulted in Natlan's ley lines to take the most damage and also Nibelung's demise. After this, the dragons were said to have either run, hid, or slain, and celestial nails were descended to neutralize the abyssal power that Nibelung brought to the world. Since this war, Natlan became a frequent target for the Abyss to invade, and this has become the main issue for both the dragons and the humans. As per the Byakuyakoku collection, because the dragons possesses great ability to adapt for their own survival, the Pyrophysiops went through significant changes, losing their intelligence and wisdom in the process, and turned into Saurians. Due to Natlan's broken ley lines, a celestial nail naturally descended here as well. Yahual'Tjutin, the Lord of the Night, also an angel, reconstructed Natlan's ley lines using the fragments of what is left, creating the Night Kingdom under ruler of Death's guidance, Renova. This, however, greatly displeased the Heavenly Principles because Renova overstepped her authority, and Renova was implied to have been punished in the process, hence her somewhat apathetic behavior towards the fate of Teyvat. Even though that's the case, the Natlan dragons remained strong, and somewhere around 2,000 years ago, they reclaimed Natlan from human civilization, causing the humans to revert to their primitive lives after the angels were devoured by the dragons. Now, believe it or not, this is the first time I actually knew that the angels were devoured. So this could explain why there's no Silis on Natlan's surface, and the Monitus could be the byproduct of this. As for why humans refer to their primitive lives, that's because the angels were sent by the heavenly principles as the guide for humanity. It was also implied that Tenochtzitoc was the only angel that is left in Natlan. Anyways, this was also around the time when the Archon War happened outside of Natlan, and a Sumeru god named Bifrons moved to Natlan in order to restore his strength. Keep in mind that while Teyvat was busy with the Archon War, the Natlanis never attended one to begin with because of their battle between the dragons. Because of this, a lot of the modern Natlanis are unaware of the Archon War. Anyway, despite the dragons obtaining their home back, their decline still remains, and Xiuhua was already corrupted by the Abyss, likely because of Nibelung's aftermath of bringing the forbidden knowledge. He then used his remaining sanity to create a Huitzilopochtli, using his eye as the control hub to destroy the Abyss once and for all, but at the cost of destroying Natlan. All of the sovereign rulers agreed, leaving Kukulkan as the only one to disagree. Instead, he took this opportunity by stealing the seed of phlogiston from his brother and teaching them to humans because he found compassion in them. Basically, he found hope in uniting dragons and humans to bring a new era. During this time, Kukulkan's son, Ochkan, was born with his half-human, half-dragon bloodline in order for Kukulkan to understand humanity more, and he was destined to slay Xiuhua to become the new Pyro Sovereign, but do note that Ochkan was treated more as a test subject rather than an actual son. The 7 tribes were also found after Kukulkan taught humans how to use phlogiston. Yes, 7, but we'll get to that later. Knowing Kukulkan's betrayal, he was then set for questioning by the sovereign rulers but was soon stopped by Xiuhua as he attended the meeting, and it was not clear what happened after that, but Kukulkan was likely freed from that questioning. Eventually, some of the 13 sovereign rulers used Kukulkan's effort in teaching humans phlogiston as an advantage to incite humans by using the phlogiston to harm each other, causing the 7 tribes to break apart. Do note that not all of them incite humans, with the 3rd, 4th, and 8th ruler not taking a part. The first ruler was also implied to not take a part. But one day, Xiuhua was slain by an outlander human named Xabalanque instead of Ochkan, a miscalculation on Kukulkan's part. It was said that Xiuhua was slain in the Great Volcano of Talon. Xabalanque did not win by himself, however. It was along the very first generation of the 6 heroes, including Lianka and Ixkik from the recent Song of Welkin Moon Archon quest. And Ochkan joined in after he ran away from Kukulkan's imprisonment. At the same time, the 13 sovereign rulers were slain, with 2 remaining alive until this day, 1 recently deceased, while 1 was executed by her own kind for raising a human. The 11th ruler split herself in 2, with Inafa as the other half that remained alive. Ahau is the only true AI dragon that is still alive until today. Ixlel recently deceased after the traveler released her soul from her imprisonment, while the 8th ruler was executed for raising Lianka, the first bearer of Fuka, the same ancient name as Chaskas. After slaying Xiuhua, Xabalanque rose to Archonhood. But right after that, Vernova, the ruler of death, appeared and informed Xabalanque about the inevitable ruin that Natlan will face in the future. Knowing this, Xabalanque made a bargain with Vernova, who she then lent her power to and strengthened the Night Kingdom by using the Oath of Resurrection, with the rules of the victor shall burn bright, while the losers must turn to ash. In other words, during the battle against the Abyss, only those with an ancient name may revive from the death as long as the party won from the battle. After that, he made a pledge with Kukulkan to maintain peace with the dragons by splitting Xiuhua eyes in 2, one for Xabalanque while the other is for Kukulkan, and these eyes are known as the Golden Entities. This peace was also made in order to prevent the activation of the Huitzilopochtli. However, despite all of this, the tribes were unable to unite to fight against the Abyss, and they continued to use the phlogiston to harm each other or to sacrifice each other because of their old tradition, likely the long-lasting effect of the sovereign ruler's persuasion from the past. Kukulkan was disappointed and became jaded, causing him to leave human society and yearn to activate the Huitzilopochtli. In order to do this, Kukulkan devised the plan to lure humans and a Saurian with Flamelord's blessing to bring 2 golden entities to the heart of the sacred mountain. It is said that those who do this will have their Saurian's Flamelord's blessing be removed. This Saurian will then be given a choice to activate the machine or not. For timeline's sake, we'll talk about the Flamelord's blessing in a bit. Not long after Xbalanque's ascension, his followers found the ineffable city known as the Cinder City. But after Xbalanque's return to the Sacred Flame, the city was soon renamed as Ochkanatlan, ruled by one of Xbalanque's followers named Ochkan, who then became a tyrant. He then seized the pledge between Xbalanque and Kukulkan, causing the dragons of that time to be oppressed by him. His hatred towards the dragon was so great that he would punish anyone who has any sort of good terms with the dragons. Ochkan also seizes the connection between humans and the Lord of the Night after knowing the truth behind the Three Moon Sisters from Ixlel. Ochkan soon tricked Ixlel and imprisoned her in the core of Chu'ulel to become the power source of Ochkanatlan, but she remained defiant, causing him to use his own draconic aspect to power the city in the new core of Chu'ulel, while Ixlel remained imprisoned in the old one until the Traveler released her in the present day. This of course angered Kukulkan and confronted Ochkan soon after to warn him that his tyranny had made his people turn against him. He then offered Ochkan to activate the Huitzilopochtli by giving Kukulkan Xbalanque's golden entreaty. Ochkan refused as he hid the golden entreaty somewhere, so Kukulkan left Ochkan with a warning that he will soon obtain his body during his fall. Ochkan's tyranny was soon overthrown by the second Pyro Archon, the Scarlet-Eyed Youth, and his followers. These followers are the known 6 tribes today, while one tribe remained to follow Ochkan. After Ochkan's defeat, Ochkan's tribe was soon split in two. Some left Natlan and headed to Mondstadt while the others remained, but exiled to the most secluded part of the nation, now known as Tenochtzitoc. It is also said that this tribe wields the power of NMO, so this tribe is basically the lost tribe of Natlan. Those who left Natlan are now known as the Muratans, while the other half is left unnamed, but for this video, we'll call them Tenoch's tribe. The Muratans is basically Vanessa's tribe, the same Vanessa from the manga and also the first Grandmaster of the Knights of Avonius. As for Ochkan, even though he was defeated, he survived in the form of Kukuik because he split his draconic aspect to power the city in the new core of Chu'ulel, and he remained there until Bona freed him during the Cataclysm. At some point of time, his body was soon taken by Kukulkan, and his body was used as an abyssal conduit, turning him into the Fell Dragon. Kukulkan used this as a leverage to lure people in finding treasures in Ochkanatlan to seize the abyss away, but this of course is just a rumor for people to find the other half of the golden entreaty. Ochkan's corrupted body then circles around Ochkanatlan for centuries. Now this comes to the more recent history. During the Cataclysm around 500 years ago, the Abyss invaded and worsened the abyssal contamination in Natlan. Because of Natlan's weakened ley lines, they took the most damage, especially with how Rhindaughter added more fuel to the fire with the most insane creation of hers, the Bakunawa. This monster ravaged the Mare Jivari, unaliving all of the people in Tenoch's tribe, but leaving him as the only one that survived. In order to prevent Bakunawa from spreading its corruption further, Tenoch assembled the 6 heroes from the other tribes. The heroes were able to imprison the monster, but this resulted in Tenoch and Sandhatch to sacrifice their life, with Sandhatch summoned a miniature Night Kingdom to destroy the encroaching calamity. Perkina, hero from the Science of the Canopy, also fell during this battle, and his Saurian companion, Kongamatsu, was the one that unalived him due to being heavily corrupted by the Abyss. Just for your information, Kongamatsu is the same Yumkaso boss that we can face in the overworld. The people of Natlan were desperate trying to find a way to seize the Abyss from their land, and this is where Kukulkan spread the rumor of the Jade of Return in order for the Natlanese to find the golden entreaty. The Natlanese assembled a team, forming the Ochkanatlan adventure team to find this treasure. All of them, however, fall under the hands of Kukulkan after knowing the truth of the golden entreaty, including Bona, who freed Ochkan's draconic aspect from the core of Chu'ulel. It's worth noting that the one we met in Ochkanatlan was her memory. It is also said that one of the members in the team survived, named Liribu, and she spread the story of her team's demise in order to prevent further tragedy from happening. During this time, Mavuika ascended as the new Pyro Archon. Because of the Cataclysm, Natlan was destined to only have 500 years left to live before the Abyss completely engulfed the land. Even though the Abyss contamination has been temporarily repelled, the tribes were left devastated with no hope. In order to do this, Mavuika created a plan by reuniting the tribes again. The old 6 heroes will have their ancient names modified by having its heir from 500 years in the future to be acknowledged. Mavuika put her life in the sacrifice Sacred Flame to travel to the future, and after the tribes are united by the newer Pyro Archons, each Y-up of the tribe will acknowledge the hero with the modified ancient name to be awakened in order to signal the tribe's readiness for the battle. The new generation of 6 heroes soon became the catalyst to awaken the Pyro Throne using the Ruler of Death's borrowed power. Now, based on Mavuika's sunset animation, she likely joined the war against Bakunawa with the remaining heroes that are still alive after she created this plan. But after that battle, Tupac, hero from the People of the Springs, was the only one that survived in the battle and brought Mavuika back to the Stadium of the Sacred Flame. After he did just that, he eventually passed away. This is where Mavuika put her life to the Sacred Flame to travel to the future in order to put her 500-year plan in motion. During Mavuika's travel to the future, Mare Jivari's corruption starts to spread. In order to prevent its corruption further, Barbados, or Fenty in this case, blew Mare Jivari away from the timeline after he received power from Istaroth to do so. Whether this was recent or not, it's still rather unclear, but it can be said that all of this happened after the battle in Mare Jivari. It's very unlikely that it happened around 20 to 30 years ago because it is implied by Fenty that he doesn't know the whole detail of how that happened, and the story of Mare Jivari is more than just him blowing the timeline away. Speaking of that, 20 to 30 years ago, Mare Jivari was then reported to have vanished from the face of the planet after being swallowed by a monster the size of a mountain, soon revealed to be the Bakunawa. During this time, Bennett's parents traveled to Tenochtzitoc as their final holiday with the rest of their adventure team's members. However, the team soon wanders around the simulated Mare Jivari, with all of them perished in the process, leaving baby Bennett as the only one that survived, while the rest of the group merged with the local Monitus to become Ashas. Bennett was soon brought to Mondstadt by an adventurer who found him in that domain. Now, it's worth noting that this place is not the Mare Jivari, but a simulated Mare Jivari created by the Abyss. This place over here is the real Mare Jivari, well, at least the entrance of the real Mare Jivari, and it's a different place that Bennett's parents wandered off. The rest of the lore is what we experienced during Natlan's Archon quest and World quest. Now allow me to give you a brief summary of them. At some point of time, likely recently prior to the traveler's arrival in Natlan, the little body was chosen as the Chosen of Dragons by Kukulkan and was born with the Flame Lord's blessing in order to find the golden entities. The little body was not the only one in fact, because Holawakangobo, the Kukusar boss that you can fight in the overworld, has this blessing along with Ochkan. Those with this blessing are destined to become the next Pyro Sovereign. According to Umposo, Saurians with Flame Lord's blessing usually appear once every several dozen years. Those who were blessed with these blessings are gifted with power of the ancient dragons, but because of its destructive nature, the Night Kingdom and the Y-up refused to accept these Saurians, so they usually were taken care of until they were unalived by Saurian hunters. While it's not confirmed, Ixlel was likely involved in choosing the little body as the Chosen of Dragons because she was aware of the traveler and the little body of being one. Whether Kukulkan told her about this plan or not, so far there's no confirmation on that. But we do know that prior to the battle in the Mare Jivari, both Menelek and Holawakangobo attempted to find the golden entities, but it is heavily implied that they failed and the Kukusar became a tyrant that we see today. Mavuika was then reborn into the present day and became the current Pyro Archon. Due to the abyssal contamination in the Night Kingdom, only 3 of the 6 heroes were acknowledged during her arrival, that being Yansan, Kinich, and Shilonen. But as the Archon quest goes, Molani, Ororon, and Chaska was soon acknowledged by their ancient name through certain means, and Mavuika was able to put her 500-year plan to fruition, triumph against the Abyss, and soon defeated Gosoithoth at the heart of the Night Kingdom. During this time, Capitano, the first of the Fatui Harbinger, joined in the war and sacrificed himself in Mavuika's stead when Renova came to take Mavuika's life for using her power as the price needed to be paid. Even though the Abyss has been eradicated from Natlan once and for all, Kukulkan however remains unoptimistic that all of this is over because he knew that the Abyss will invade Natlan again. He likely meant what happened in Mare Jivari because even though the abyssal contamination is contained in a different time and space, it can still spread across Natlan because according to Enjo, the monster can and will be able to escape Mare Jivari if not handled, and Kukulkan seems to be aware of this. So the Little Body questline happened where the Traveler and the Little Body obtained both the golden entities. At the end of it, the Little Body ultimately chose to not activate the Huitzilopochtli because he still believed in humanity, let alone the Traveler and Paimon who remained on his side. Kukulkan's plan failed, and despite his jaded feelings, deep down he knew that he still believed in humanity after all and faded with content of the Little Body's choice. The Little Body's Flame Lord's blessing mark still remains, but the power disappeared completely. After all those events, the Little Body ultimately chose to leave the Traveler and Paimon to embark on his own adventure. Finally, the most recent quest in Tenochtzitoc. I made a video about it recently and you can watch that if you want the more detailed recap, but to summarize, after the war against the Abyss, it was revealed by Citlali that the remaining uncorrupted part of Mare Jivari, or known as Tenochtzitoc in the current days, was then developed into the Easy Breeze holiday resort that we now see today. Fenty came to Tenochtzitoc in order to collaborate with Mavuika. As per the signal, Mavuika is able to open the rift to the real Mare Jivari, and Fenty uses this chance to gather souls that are willing to return to the Ley Lines and the Night Kingdom. After that event, the Traveler and Citlali found their way to the graveyard of the 6 heroes, past Pyro Archons, and Tenoches. Enjo also tailed along and found his way to Mare Jivari, but he soon entered the real Mare Jivari alone after secretly familiarizing himself with the Bakunawa's power. It was revealed that this is the only way to enter such a place. At the end of the quest, Citlali will inform Mavuika about this and the Traveler will be the first to know. This is where Natlan's whole lore recap officially ends. Pretty interesting, eh? Of course, there are more than that, but this is the most compressed and important lore that I can give to you all. I believe that most of them, at least the Moon Sisters and the Dragon lore, will be relevant in NOD-KRAI because the two will have very strong connection within the primordial history of Teyvat. I hope you find that interesting and perhaps helpful, and with that said, let me know what you think about Natlan's lore in the comments. Tjena!